I found out my parents conspired with my ex to set me up financially, so I cut them off entirely and started fresh. Now they're asking for my help. I'm 36, a guy, and if you'd told me a year ago I'd be in a position like this with my own parents, I'd have laughed in your face. Growing up, they were as stable as you could hope for. Not too affectionate, but solid. Steady. I trusted them with everything. It was automatic, natural. But now? Looking back, I can't believe I missed the signs. Now, that trust feels like a joke. It all started with a text from my mother. It was short, and I remember it word for word. Can we talk? Your father and I have something important to discuss with you. Something about it didn't sit right with me. I even mentioned it to my sister later. I told her I felt like something was up. But I shrugged it off, assuming it was some family thing, and agreed to meet them at their place. When I got there, they were both sitting in the living room, looking almost smug. They didn't make small talk, didn't ask how I was, just told me to sit down. Then my dad started in about how they'd been talking and thinking about my future. After some tense, awkward small talk, they got to it. My mom told me they'd been in touch with my ex, and not just once or twice. Apparently, they'd been talking regularly, meeting even. My mom and dad. With her. The ex I'd broken up with about 8 months ago after a rough, messy end to our 3-year relationship. They'd stayed in contact with her the entire time, and somehow, I'd had no idea. She'd even been coming over to their house, hanging out, making dinners for them. All under the pretense that she was still family. Then my mom told me that she and dad had come to realize my ex was the right woman for me. She explained how, according to my ex, I was lost and needed guidance. Guidance. As if I'd turned into some aimless screw-up after we'd split. My ex had apparently convinced them that I wasn't managing my finances well and needed her help to get back on track. And my parents, instead of asking me a single question about it, believed her. I was dumbfounded. But then it got worse. They'd helped her set up a joint bank account with my name on it. My ex had come up with this whole story about how she could manage my finances to help me stay responsible. And my parents, they thought they were doing me a favor. They thought they were helping me by putting my money in her hands. They'd even transferred money to the account for her to manage, saying they didn't want to hurt my pride by telling me about it. When I demanded they close the account, they got defensive. My mother, still smiling as if this was all perfectly reasonable, told me they'd already transferred a substantial amount to cover necessary expenses. My ex had already dipped into the account and spent my money on gifts that were supposedly for me. I hadn't seen any of these gifts, of course. They kept saying it was for my future. I told them flat out to shut it down and cut her off, but they acted like I was being irrational. My mom started in about how she was helping me get back on track with her responsibility and good sense. Then she dropped the final bomb. She'd already been planning a wedding. They'd been discussing dates, venues, everything, as if my relationship with my ex was back on. They'd taken over, deciding what my life would be without even bothering to ask me. I remember staring at them, thinking, who are these people? The parents I thought I knew would have been furious that someone was trying to meddle in my life like this. But here they were proudly orchestrating it. I tried to argue, but it was like talking to a wall. They just kept brushing me off, saying things like, oh, you'll see eventually, and one day, you'll thank us for this. My dad, who rarely raised his voice, told me to stop being ungrateful. He said I'd always been too proud to know what was best for myself, and they were just doing what was necessary. At this point, I was fuming. They were essentially calling me irresponsible, incapable of handling my own life, and putting all their trust in my ex, someone who'd blatantly lied and manipulated them. And the worst part, they didn't see a single issue with it. I told them I wanted nothing more to do with their plans, that they needed to cut her out of their lives if they wanted to have anything to do with me. But then my mother tried another tactic. She said, look, we're not getting any younger, and we just want to know you'll be taken care of. Don't do this to us. Don't throw us away. She started getting emotional, as if I was somehow the one breaking their hearts. But I wasn't falling for it. I told them I was done, that I couldn't believe they'd let someone lie to them about me and betray my trust like this. They started in with more emotional blackmail, but I didn't give them the satisfaction. I got up, said I was cutting them off, and walked out the door. Over the next few weeks, I cut off all ties with my ex and closed that joint account, moving everything into a secure place. I changed my bank, set up new passwords, made sure she couldn't touch a dime. I blocked her on every platform I could think of. But that didn't stop her from showing up at my place a few times, begging to talk. She tried to twist things, saying she'd only done it because she loved me, that my parents had just been trying to help. I told her if she didn't leave, I'd call the police. A few weeks after that, my parents started calling, texting, trying to reach out. I ignored it all. I thought they'd get the hint. But they didn't. They reached out to my sister, who was living out of state, trying to get her to mediate. They told her I was ungrateful and hadn't appreciated everything they'd done for me. They painted themselves as the victims, like I'd somehow wronged them by cutting them out of my life. My sister finally called me, confused, saying she didn't understand what was going on. All she'd heard was my parents' side, that I'd cut them off for no reason, that I was acting irrationally. So I laid it all out for her. I told her about the bank account, the wedding plans, the money they'd given to my ex, everything. By the end of it, she was furious. She apologized, said she had no idea they'd gone that far. She promised she'd support me no matter what. But it didn't end there. My parents weren't about to let it go. They kept reaching out, telling anyone who would listen that I was a bad son who'd turned his back on family. They started spreading rumors among mutual friends and extended family, trying to paint me as this ungrateful, selfish person. They called up family friends, saying I'd abandoned them in their old age, that they didn't know why if I was doing this. Then, a few months later, my mother showed up at my door. I should have known better, but I let her in. She started in on this whole speech about family loyalty, telling me how family is everything, and that blood is thicker than water. She said I was being cruel by ignoring them, that they'd only been trying to help. She went on and on about how, at their age, they just wanted to see me settled with someone like my ex, someone they felt was the perfect fit. I couldn't believe it. Even after everything, she still didn't see anything wrong with what they'd done. She didn't apologize, didn't take responsibility. Instead, she kept saying that if I'd just accepted their help, things would be so much easier. Finally, I told her I couldn't do it anymore. I said if she or my father ever tried to manipulate me or my life again, they'd never hear from me again. She left in tears, but I didn't feel a thing. I'd given them every chance to make this right, and all they'd done was double down, blaming me for the mess they'd created. After that, I shut them out for good. Holidays came and went. I didn't respond. They tried reaching out to my sister, friends, anyone who could talk sense into me, but I refused to engage. I knew if I opened that door, they'd just try to control me all over again. It's been about a year now, and I've started to build a life without them. I've reconnected with old friends, made new ones, and focused on my work. I'm even in a new relationship, with someone who actually respects my boundaries. It's been liberating to finally make choices for myself, without worrying about someone's approval or judgment. There are days I still wonder if I should have seen this coming. Maybe there were signs, little comments, moments when they'd pushed too hard. But it's over now, and I've finally come to terms with it. I've learned that family isn't about loyalty at any cost. It's about respect. And when people cross that line, no matter who they are, they have to face the consequences. I'm not going to pretend it was easy, though. Cutting off your own parents isn't a choice anyone wants to make. Even now, I'll sometimes get this pang of guilt, especially when I see friends with their families, celebrating birthdays, holidays, just normal, everyday stuff. There's a part of me that misses that feels like maybe I'm the one who's broken. But then I remember the lengths they went to, the way they chose her over me, and I know I made the right choice. After going through this, I've realized that loyalty isn't a blank check. Just because someone is family doesn't mean they get to dictate the course of your life. I spent so many years letting my parents steer, even if I didn't always agree with them, because I thought that was what being a good son meant. But a good son isn't someone who hands over control of his life. And real family doesn't manipulate you, guilt-trip you, or betray your trust. I think about my sister sometimes, too. She's been supportive through all of this, but it's been hard on her. Our parents have tried to pull her into it, using her as their go-between, trying to guilt her for siding with me. She's had to deal with their calls, their messages, their attempts to drag her into the fight. But she's stayed strong, and I owe her for that. She told me once, family isn't about putting up with everything. It's about supporting each other's happiness. That stuck with me. I think that's what I was missing all these years, and what my parents could never seem to understand. So now I'm moving on, and I'm doing it for me. I've built a life without their constant judgment, their control. I'm with someone who values my boundaries, who sees me as a partner and not a project. And I've realized that life without the weight of someone else's expectations on your shoulders, it's freeing in a way I never thought possible. Maybe one day, my parents will reach out with real understanding, with an apology that actually means something. But I'm not holding my breath. I've made my peace with the idea that sometimes family is just a word. The people who deserve to be in your life are the ones who respect you, who trust you to make your own choices. Anything less, and they're not family. Not really. They're just people you happen to share a history with. And sometimes, letting go of that history is the only way to truly move forward.